What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Links and Locks Best Bets podcast. I'm Jason Sobel from the Action Network. He is Ben Everill from Golf Bet, and as always, we're going to go through 18 holes, make 18 bets on this week's Zurich Classic of New Orleans. Before we go any further, though, I gotta tell you all the good stuff. As a reminder, the Links and Locks podcast is proudly presented by Bet365, the world's favorite sportsbook brand. Sign up with promo code ACTION to get Bet365's exclusive sign-up offer in New Jersey and Colorado. Bet $1 on any game, get $200 for free. Benny, before we get to New Orleans, let's rehash a little Harbor Town. Matt Fitzpatrick is your winner over Jordan Spieth at a playoff where he nearly holed out on the third playoff hole. Fun stuff from Fitzy, who I guess if he's got a little background on a golf course, we should bet him these days.
Mate, I'm pretty sure you might have tipped off the listeners to old Fitz. We talked about how he was one of your picks, and also I mentioned the story about how he loves the joint. He's been going there since before he was a professional golfer with his family, and it finally paid off for him. All that love for the place. It was great to see Fitz come through. Also, not that I've got anything against Jordan Spieth, but when you tell us you're too exhausted to win and then you almost win, that's annoying. Don't do that anymore, Jordan.
I believe, and I was looking for the quote, I believe Rory McIlroy said something very similar prior to the RBC Canadian Open last year and wound up winning that golf tournament. So maybe there's something to be said for the next time a guy says he's exhausted and really needs a week off and he's playing instead, pick him, because for whatever reason, that tends to work out. All right, let's get to the Zurich, Benny. Obviously, two-man teams this week. We'll get into some strategies as we get there, but for a little reminder for the people, 4-ball, which is essentially best ball format for the first and third rounds, foursomes alternate shot for the second and fourth rounds. And yeah, I'm gonna go out and admit it right off the bat, Benny. Not my favorite event of the year from a prognostication standpoint. How's that sound?
Yeah, look, it's obviously a lot of fun to watch, and being there since they made the change, I can attest to it. It has reinvigorated the tournament, and given it something different that I really love for New Orleans and that city. But it is very tough to pick because while we do see Ryder Cups and Presidents Cups and whatnot, we don't see a lot of the guys in those, and it's a long time since many of these guys have played alternate shot. They're individual athletes most of the time. And now they have to team up and deal with each other. Now, when you play your own ball in 4-ball, you can still just play your own game. But when you're in that alternate shot format, there's definitely needs to be some cohesion of game, needs to be some understanding of each other. And that's the intangible this week is you do have to, look around for guys that do like each other and get along. If you don't, you're probably going to be struggling because, we've seen winners, mates basically, winning these things or going close to winning. So you do have to keep that in mind when you're making your choices this week. And
and that's going to go a long way towards some of my decisions, as you'll hear in just a second here. And by the way, you make a good point. I say it's not a great week from a betting and a prognostication standpoint, but it is. If I'm a PGA Tour player, I'm like, this is our member tournament. This is fun. Yes. Like I would have a blast playing in this thing. They've got walk-up music on the first tee. You're hanging out with a buddy all week. It's not just you on your own with your caddy. I mean, there's a lot of good things. I love the outside the box thinking. I'm certainly not suggesting that this is a week where we go, oh man, this stinks. It's a terrible tournament. It's actually a really fun tournament. It's just not quite a great tournament from a betting standpoint. Yes. So all that said, let's get into it and make some bets for the people. Hole number 1 for the Zurich Classic, Benny. You're on the tee. Swing away.
Well, for those out there who haven't looked already, there are a very, very, very short priced favorites in this. There's the defending champions, Saunders, Schauffele, and Patrick Cantlay are plus 400 or even less. I think it's a plus 290 in places to win this tournament. Ridiculous early. But, they're favorites for a reason. I'll get to them soon. But just with that in context, a lot of my picks are essentially trying to find some value in a tournament where there's a heavy favorite, and yet they should play well. Those two guys together, they've proven themselves a good team many a time. So I'm going to go to my first value option, if you will, for an outright victory, and I'm going to a bunch of youngsters. I like the 2200 of Justin Suh and Sahith Theegala. I think these two young guns are hitting their straps at the right time and will want to impress. Ryder Cup in their future, potential Ryder Cuppers in either this year or in 2 years' time. Sahith, as you know, 9th at the Masters, 5th last week at Hilton Head. He's 13th in birdie average this season, 28th in scoring. He can go low. Justin's had those couple of top sixes at the Honda and Players recently. I think that there's just a little bit of value there at that 22-1.
I like that. I think they're a nice team to keep in mind for one and dones this week. So there are all sorts of different plays for one and done pools, but I know a lot of them are just pick one player and you can essentially double up on the other guy. And the other guy in this situation would be Sahith Theegala. So essentially you take Justin Suh this week, and there's a few other teams. I'll throw Wyndham Clark and Bo Hostler out there, where Wyndham Clark's playing really well. He could win something this summer. Maybe you take Bo Hostler and you get Wyndham with him, where it's not two guys of equal measure, so to speak. So I like them from a one and done standpoint. I do think they're a nice DFS play this week. I don't have any bets on them here in the podcast, but certainly don't mind it. All right. I'm going to start out with a long shot, and there's only one outright long shot that I'm going to play, and I'll get to it later because the outright that I have this week that I'll tell you at the end, as I do every time, is very, very short. And when you're playing a short outright, you don't want to play too many long outrights as well. You don't want to double up on a whole bunch of it. I'll put it this way. If you got a very short outright, you can guess where I'm going already. There's not much point in playing a 10-1 and a 15-1 and a 20-1. That does not feel like a money maker or a wise investment there. So I'm going to just have one longer shot on the card this week. It's a couple guys that grew up not too far from where I live right now in Orlando, and Eric Cole and Sam Saunders, really good friends. I mean, these guys have probably played more golf with each other than most of the other guys in this tournament, even though they're not even playing on the same tour right now. Saunders has 3 top 10s, including a runner-up finish in his last 5 starts on the Corn Ferry circuit. Love seeing that. One of my favorite dudes in golf. I haven't talked to Sam in a couple of years, but really good guy. Eric Cole, we've seen what he can do at the Honda Classic, getting into a playoff there. He's had some other good results as well. They're at 80-1 at Bet365, Benny. I've seen places where you can get them at 180-1 shop around.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I wouldn't have gone that deep, but you make a good point. Like Eric Cole is like he's been going back and playing mini tours and winning them in between what he did at Honda. Like he just loves his golf, and I think that he'll see this as an opportunity, like he did when he got his start there at Honda. So not bad. All right, I'll go to the third hole. I'll throw you my long shot, which is nowhere near that long, but I figured in this field, 55-1's not too bad. And I'm going to the, I had a young group in the first hole there. Going to the youngest team aggregate this week here. Akshay Bhatia and Harry Hall, 55-1. Now, let me tell you why. Look, Akshay is like Sahith Theegala. He's going to be a stud. He's coming up through. He might be a few years away from absolutely finding his feet at a tour level. He's sort of bouncing between the two. Was second at the Puerto Rico Open. But I just think he'll go in with nothing to lose. And Harry Hall is 4th on tour in putting. And you're going to need to make putts in this format. If Akshay can put him on the greens in reasonable spots, Harry's going to take care of things for them in the alternate shot. So young, excited. Hopefully don't go out too many nights on Bourbon Street, but I think the 55-1 is some value there as a long shot.
Yeah, I like that there. All right, I'm going to go to the 4th hole. And here's a couple of international team players that I know you saw at the President's Cup last fall. In fact, they beat the defending champions of this event, Cantlay and Schauffele, in Saturday afternoon 4-balls. It took a while for Trevor Immelman to kind of fine-tune the pairings and get to the point where he put Siwoo Kim and Tom Kim together. But boy, doesn't it look like Tom Kim really enjoys the team aspect. He enjoys showing off for an older teammate. Like, hey, let me show you what I can do. I know Tom hasn't played his best golf over the last couple of months, but I see this as a really good format for him. I've got Kim at top 5 this week.
I'll get to those boys a little later on.
I thought you might.
But I will say this, every year pretty much we've had this, either the winner or someone very close to winning has been a team from another nation playing together, whether that be 2 Australians, 2 South Africans. In this case, that would be 2 South Koreans. I do think you'll see someone from another nation right up there contending, and keep that in mind when you're looking. It's been a trend. It's not just all American teams that do well here. All right, but I'll come back to those boys, and I'll go to a top 5 play with some Yanks who, look, plus 375. They've been second and fourth at this tournament. One of them's actually won it with a different partner, Billy Horschel and Sam Burns. I'll go with them to once again show they can finish in the top 5. And now their odds are out what you might expect, because Billy Horschel's not been playing his best this year. Pretty much simple as that. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that somehow with Burnsy there, with a bit more relaxed attitude, with having some fun, and in a place that they've, got places he can essentially miss, get carried by Burns when he needs to be. I think they can contend. So I'll take the plus 375 top 5 for Burns and Horschel.
Yeah, so I don't have those guys. I don't mind it. It was a little short for me still. But I do like that strategy of chasing fun this week. I'm chasing guys who are essentially like, if we had a member guest at your club, they're going to show up and they're going to have a good time and play with each other no matter what. I don't want the forced pairings. I don't want guys that were like, well, my agent called his agent and we each needed somebody. So I guess I'm going to go meet this guy on the first tee and play with him. So that being said, I'm going to take a couple of fun guys for my top 10 play and on the 6th hole in Joel Dahmen and Denny McCarthy. Very much like your Harry Hall play a minute ago, Benny. Denny McCarthy, one of the best putters out there. Joel Dahmen can get hot as well. Can't you see them feeding off each other and having a really good time? Again, that's going to be the theme of most of my picks this week. So I like the teams that have some camaraderie going on.
So, mate, I've just changed a hole. I'm going to go move to the 7th hole, move this around. I had that same pairing at the top 20 plus 125, looking for a plus number in the top 20 market. McCarthy 30th in putting, 21st scoring. He's going to bring up Joel Dahmen's putting stats, which has been a bit of a struggle this year. But again, there's probably be hard pressed to find a team having more fun than them. Joel Dahmen had the 3 top 10s in the fall. McCarthy's had 3 top 25s in his last 4 starts. They're going to be enjoying themselves. Absolutely. I just went with that top 20, looking for because as you get down to the 20s, 30s, 40s, it's hard to find a plus money bet, obviously, with the 40 teams. So that's where I've got them slated, top 20, 125.
Yeah. Is there only 40 teams in this week? I didn't count all the way down the list. I thought there were more. I don't know.
There probably is more. What did I say? Did I say 40?
80 teams? 80 teams?
80. Does that sound many? 40 make the cut is what I meant to say.
Yeah. Okay. That might make more sense. Yeah, sure. Yeah. We get it. All right. 8th hole. Too often we look at either for Ryder Cup or President's Cup. I think a lot of the general public goes, oh, these guys should play together. They'd work really well. And my contention is always, I want dissimilar players for 4 balls. And it doesn't mean dissimilar personalities, but I want a big hitter who plays aggressive golf with a guy who's accurate and precise and doesn't make too many mistakes. And yet for foursomes, that's where the alternate shot format is where I want like-minded players. I want guys who play similar styles. I think we tend to forget that the Zurich Classic is half of each. We tend to look at the best ball format more so than we look at the alternate shot format. I am going to place a little onus on the alternate shot here and look at 2 guys that played very well last year together, and I think have extremely similar games to the point where I have listed them together in preview columns probably a half dozen times over the past year, just because I think they're so similar. Aaron Rai and David Lipsky, just fairways and greens hitters. They're not going to do anything fancy. They're not going to wow you by hitting it 350 off the tee. They usually don't go extremely low, although Rai was the first round leader last week at Harbor Town, but just guys who are extremely steady. They'll give you chances, and I think they're a really good alternate shot team. I'll take them for a top 20.
All right, mate. Well, I can't really complain with that choice. As I said, I flagged them but didn't end up getting them into my final 9 here. So as much as I'd like to try to find some fault with that one, I'm not going to be able to. Yeah, I think you're right. Like you've got to survive the alternate shot. Like essentially the winners each year have either managed to go under par in that format on the 2 times or gone very close to it on both occasions. You can't have a super blow up, which a lot of people tend to have. And Yeah, you got to limit your mistakes. So guys who don't make big mistakes can definitely creep up the boards. With that vein, I'm going to go to a top 10 play here at plus 275 to close out front here that people might not know too much about. Although, if you watched a lot of golf, you'll know these guys. But Frenchman Victor Perez and Belgian Thomas Detry.
Sure.
Now, 275 for a top 10. Why do I like? Well, Victor is third on the race to Dubai at the moment, playing very well. Also wants to prove himself ahead of a Ryder Cup. Thomas Detry's got 3 top 10s on the tour this year already. He also, people might not know, he's won the World Cup in this format. Won the World Cup with Thomas Pieters a few years back in Melbourne, playing the exact same sort of format that the Zurich Classic employs. Took down Leishman and Smith that year. Right, and we know that is another pairing that's won in New Orleans. So I think Detry and Perez could surprise a few people. Got them at top 10 plus 275.
I like that. That's a nice play there. And as we get to the turn, what do we do in New Orleans? We're going to have some fried oysters and beignets at the turn. Isn't that how we do this? And before we get to the 10th tee, one more quick reminder. The Links and Locks podcast is proudly presented by Bet365, the world's favorite sportsbook brand. Sign up with promo code ACTION, ACTION, to get Bet365's exclusive sign-up offer in New Jersey and Colorado. Bet $1 on any game, get $200 for free. We make the turn. We get to number 10. The beignets are weighing us down. Nothing can weigh down.
I'll say this about that
Yes.
food.
Yes.
It may be the best pro-am all year because they have on basically every tee box local fare, and they just let the media and anyone else sort of have a little bit if you just sort of go up and ask. I mean, I've just every single restaurant there just showing off a bit of what they've got. If you hang out at the range too, just fried oysters and stuff, and those beignets are just firing up everywhere. So get out there on the Wednesday if you're in town and see if you can't score yourself a little bit of food.
Yeah, just slide in under the ropes. Just tell them you're Ben Everill, and they'll
That's
let you eat whatever you want out there.
Correct.
One guy who I think may partake in some of the pro-am fare. And look, this is my first round leader play, and I think with this being such a crapshoot this week, and look, everything's a crapshoot, and first round leader bets are a crapshoot on a regular basis. So let's crapshoot the crapshoot and just absolutely take a bigger number. I'm taking a couple of fun guys in a pair of ex-college teammates at SMU, Harry Higgs and Austin Smotherman. Yeah. Look, these guys are going to be out there having fun, having a good time, knowing that, look, let's be aggressive and see what happens. I just, at 60-1 for a first-round leader play, do I love it? Oh, I probably don't love it. Do I like it? I like chasing a number this week for a first-round leader play. Why not? If Cantlay and Schauffele do what they did last year and shoot 59 on Thursday, oh, well, more power to them. There was a short number, and oh, well, we didn't cash that one. But I'm looking for a bigger number, and Higgs and Smotherman were my guys for Thursday.
Man, it's so funny because I'm taking the exact opposite theory on the first round leader here. So I'm going to go on the 11th hole, and this is where I am bringing in those favorites. You're only getting 10-1. Terrible, but better than the 4 or 290 or whatever that you can get otherwise, right? So this is where I'm like, okay, if Cantlay and Schauffele are going to do this again and go wide or close to it, why not just have a little stab at that first round lead at 10-1, as I said? And there's another team there at 20-1 that didn't fall into my top 2 picks, which we've already heard. The first one was Sutton Theegala, and that's your mate Mitchell and my mate Im, 20-1 for the first round lead. I just don't know how to read those two together. I don't know if they're going to be brilliant or terrible.
Very interesting. Yeah,
I know. They could win this thing going away, or they could stick out. Like, it's such a weird combo for me, but I'm psyched to see it. So at 20-1, I thought, all right, well, maybe that's where those two sort of favored teams, that's where I'm sort of leaning in the first round leader market this time. Again, it's almost like a little insurance play at slightly better odds that super team goes out and starts hot again.
Remember, first round is that best ball format. I can't wait for the alternate shot holes where Mitchell is driving and Im is hitting the irons. Yes. That's your build a player right there. I mean, that's correct. Hey, let's have the best of the best. And not that Im driving and Mitchell hitting irons is anything terrible either. All right, we get to the 12th hole. and a lot of matchups aren't out yet. It was a weird week. The odds makers didn't even have numbers and prices out for a while on Monday morning. And so I'm just this is just sort of a generic take these guys in matchups, but Harris English and Tom Hoge pairing together for the first time. Why do I like these guys? Well, Harris English is a 3-time winner of the QBE shootout. Tom Hoge is the reigning champion, along with Theegala, of the QBE shootout. They've each won team events in the past. And so I think there are a couple of guys that they love team sports. They grew up playing team sports. There are two guys that probably thrive more on having a teammate than those players who grew up on the back of a range somewhere playing by themselves and don't quite buy into the team aspect. So again, it's just a generic, like, I like them in matchups. If you can get some similar numbered players, similar price players against them this week, I would look at those guys to have a nice week.
Yeah, I just missed mentioning them. That was my other FRL first round leader to look at. I like those two guys. They could spring some sort of surprise. As you said, they seem to just be sort of sneaking there in the background of guys that could potentially show that they know how to play this format and keep the likes of Cantlay, Schauffele on their toes for sure. All right, where are we at? The 13th hole? I'm going to go to the Bet365 player market, the -120 odds, and I've got a 28th or better combo for you here. So essentially like a top 30 bet, but 28th or better. I mentioned I like countrymen playing together. There's another bunch of Koreans here. Byung-hun An, Ben An, and SH Kim. I think they can definitely finish better than 28th. SH Kim is another young up-and-coming talent that I expect big things from. These guys are mates. They hang out a lot. They, hang out together and know each other well. Ben An was a member of the International President's Cup team in Melbourne in 2019. Showed his stuff there and enjoyed the format. I just, again, looking for some value, and 28th or better. I like those two Koreans.
I will also go to the player market bets, and similar strategy here, except a couple guys who play most of their golf out in Vegas. And I'm sure they've had some big money games, both against each other, with each other out in Vegas, but 24th or better on Kurt Kitayama and Taylor Montgomery. You've got a whole bunch of firepower in that lineup. I really like those guys together this week. I think they could make a run at the title. 24th or better seems like a slam dunk for me this week on those guys.
Yeah, mate, I'm 100% with you there. Again, I think they're a play potentially for the whole thing. So definitely keep an eye on them. When I'm looking for a player market, a top 40 market, this is a brutal market this week because you can't get much plus. The best I was looking for is a -138 for a top 40, and someone I think can potentially do it at some sort of odds. It's a former champion who has not been around in a while, but a couple of Swedes in Jonas Blixt and David Lingmerth. I think that they potentially, at the bottom end of that market, as I said, you're not putting a house on any of these. At -138 at top 40, think they represented any sort of value at the bottom of the board there.
Yeah, Lingmerth's having a nice year so far, so I can see that. Jonas Blixt, like you said, he's won this event in the past. All right, I'm going to go back to player market bets for the 16th hole. This one is a sell for me. Hate to do it. What have you done for me lately, Matt Fitzpatrick? But he is bringing in, it's a member for most of the players. He is making it a member guest and bringing in a non-member. His brother, who's still an amateur collegiate player, Alex Fitzpatrick. He's going to be a good player at some point. I have all belief in the fact that at some point he's got some potential. Maybe he'll be on the PGA Tour. But look, this is big boy golf. And then you throw in the fact that Fitzpatrick, tired from a long week, had the Masters the week before that. He's not a guy that makes birdies in bunches anyway, so the 4-ball format doesn't quite fit him anyway. And besides, I know if I was playing with my brother, I'd want to punch him in the face after about 4 or 5 holes anyway. So I can't imagine that's going to be great for them. I'll go 25th or worse this week on the Fitzy boys.
Mate, they've already, speaking a little bit beforehand, they've already sort of said that they are complete opposites. Fitz is straight and narrow down the line. Records every shot he's ever hit. And apparently his brother likes, I'm paraphrasing it, but like Big Mac's, fast food and whatever, and doesn't care. And it's like, just sort of playing El Natural. So I can imagine a tired Matt Fitzpatrick looking at his brother going, "Are you serious?" when he hits a shot or doing something that could certainly disrupt what they're doing. So yeah, look, that should be a fascinating actually side story to watch, those two playing together. All right, 17th hole, my pick for the week. Again, I'm not suggesting that the heavy favorites can't win. They're definitely going to be up there amongst it. I'm just looking for a number that's not 4-1 or better or worse.
Right,
sorry.
right.
So I am going to go with the Korean pair that you mentioned earlier in Tom Kim and Siwoo Kim, the only team that both players have had a win this season in this field. I know that Tom missed the cut at the RBC Heritage, but I'm not worried about that. In fact, I think it's a good thing. He's got a little bit of rest off the Masters, and then this will come in a little bit more jazzed. He, as you said, absolutely loves the team format. Was clearly the CEO or chief energy officer of the international team at the President's Cup last year. So I think that when you see that sort of 16, 18 to 1 that you can get in this field, it represents a little bit of value. And guys who, you know, as I said, they like each other, hang out a lot together. They're definitely mates. Siwoo makes Tom laugh a lot, which is funny to think, but Siwoo is apparently very funny in Korean. And also sneaky English sometimes every now and then when he decides to bring it out there. So I'm expecting a lot of good things from the boys and hope they can get it done.
I like that. But look, I hate to do it. There's a short number on the board. They're the defending champions, the two best players in the field. I'm eating the chalk this week, Benny.
Okay.
It's a terrible number. But look, I've been trying to find analogies for this. And the one I used in my preview this week was essentially, all right, if I go to play one-on-one against Giannis, who I think is, if not the best player in the NBA, very close to it. Look, I'm not winning. I'm not coming close, but maybe I heave one up over his outstretched hand and I, hit the rim and it somehow falls in. If you and I go play a match against Giannis and Steph Curry or Luka Doncic, we have even less of a chance of beating them together. They're going to both embarrass us with their total skills. I think that two superstars together against a field of what is largely sort of two good players, for the rest of the field. There aren't a whole lot of other superstars in this field. I think that it multiplies the efficacy of the two guys when you put them together. And I just don't see, they're both playing well. They both could use a win right now because they're getting close without getting that win. They're hungry for the win right now. Again, I hate the number. Am I telling you to lay it all on what, 3.5 to 1 odds? I don't love it, but I don't love betting on this event that much in the first place. So if you're going to do it, just take what's as close to a sure thing as we can find.
Yeah, look, again, because it's so short, you might want to wait a round or two. As I said, you've got the volatile alternate shot. They could have a few mistakes and drift a little bit. You never know. But at the same token, they shot 59 to open it last year. So if that happens, you're getting even less. And then maybe you wait, and then if that happens, you just stay away, or you go, as I said, you start looking at those other markets, your 10s and your 5s, etc., for the other teams that are coming through. And also, some books will show you round of the day, hopefully for the alternate shot for round 2. We don't have access to any of that yet. That's where you could start looking for a little value and see teams who you think might be able to play that alternate shot well. Look, they're certainly short. As I said, I can't tell you a reason not to pick them. I just didn't want to put them as my picks. And look, it's super short. The only thing shorter we might see this season is next week when John Rahm goes to the Mexico Open. That might be some serious short odds when the Masters champ goes there, but to fend there. But look, you're 100% right. They're going to have to play poorly to not be in contention this week. Simple as that.
Yeah.
No, not even just.
It's probably going to have to be both of them playing poorly.
Correct. I'm saying really poorly.
If one of them is on and one of them is average, that might be enough to get it done.
Correct.
Or at least come close to it. So, look, they're both playing really well right now. Obviously, Cantlay was in contention. Schauffele was right there at the end, needed a couple of birdies coming in. He would have been in serious contention when he finished. But they're both playing well. And again, if they had won events each over the last month or two, I'd say, all right, let me jump off a little bit. Could be a little vacation time for these
Yep.
guys, but they're both serious about their game. They're serious about winning. They're good friends. I can see them banding together and saying, hey, we both need a win. We might as well do it together.
Yeah, and let's take this title while we can get it. Let's keep a hold of it. Plus, as you know, their girlfriends, etc., are very close. They'll be in town. They'll all have another great time. It's going to be a big week for them, no matter what. It's going to take something special from another team to push them. And as I said, I do have a little bit of faith that the Koreans might be able to at least push them to the end.
I can certainly see that. So it should be a fun week for those guys, even if it's not their favorite week in the betting markets. And yeah, you're right. Next week, John Rahm in Mexico. Oh boy, start looking at long shots already on guys who might possibly somehow beat the Masters champion. I'm not sure that's going to happen either, but you're right. That's going to be a short number on Rahm. Until next time, though, we appreciate everybody listening to the Links and Locks podcast. Remember, you can find us everywhere you find your favorite podcast. Download, subscribe, rate, and listen every single week during the PGA Tour season. For Ben Everill, I'm Jason Sobel. Good luck with all your bets for this week's Zurich Classic. Here's hoping you at the green.